Cedar Falls,
Cedar Rapids,
Coralville,
Des Moines,
Mason City,
Hartford,
Oakville,
Parkersburg,
Waverly.
You could feel that the air was different, you know, things would get hot, things would get cold.
It was a day off for me until the tornado hit, and then it was no longer a day off for a long, long time.
You expect it to be this cute little whirly thing, but it was so massive and so big, you couldn't even believe it.
One of the most powerful tornadoes in United States history, basically categorized as an EF5 tornado. A very, very powerful storm.
All that would go through your mind is there have to be, I mean, dozens of people dead or injured.
And you think, how can that be? Well, if you were here, I don't have to describe anything to you. And if you weren't here, I can show you some pictures of why it was.
everything went down. And at that point, my staff at United Way was reassigned over to the Emergency Operations Center, or the EOC, to help to answer the phone calls and direct people to services.
Our city engineer made the decision to shut the water plant down. The water was starting to come into the building, and at that point we knew we had a problem. He made the decision that we needed to cut power, turn the system off, seal it up, and by doing that, he limited the contamination to a very small area.
It really is just personally devastating to have something of that magnitude hit your city or your regional community.
We'd already deployed all of our emergency personnel, and they were rescuing people with rafts out of homes. It was chest deep in a lot of places. It had come up in a hurry. People had to just basically walk out of the house, in some cases with the clothes on their back.
I didn't realize that we had a 500-year flood till after it went over the 100-year flood. So the 50-year flood has withheld most of the high water we have in this area. At first, we didn't think we'd get much, but it's the highest we've ever seen in this community.
One of our elementary schools, Southeast, that is the lowest lying school that we have, we thought, anyway. And then about 1 o'clock in the morning, we talked and said, I said, let's go check things out. So we drove through the flood streets of Waverly, no power. The water was about halfway up the tires of his truck. And so we went in, checked around. We knew that the basement was full of water. There wasn't much we could do about that. And then went back out to his truck, and by that time the water was up to the top of his tires. And that began the adventure.
Initially, we thought we were okay. As the week went on, we kept getting updated.
We had more of a standard preparation. Okay, when the river gets this high, then we do put sandbags out and start notifying people they should leave.
And what had happened is the morning of the crest, it jumped about 3 feet.
At about 8 o'clock, there was one prediction, and 8:05, it was like 3 feet higher all of a sudden.
You know, the most significant emergency that the city had experienced, as far as I know. And it mobilized people, and it was scary.
You know, we prepared for the worst flood that Cedar Rapids had seen in the past, which I believe was 1993. So that's what we prepared for. Now in 1993, our business, we had water trickle into our parking lot.
We were watching the waters rise, and actually we were outside on the street. We used a hubcap that floated by to mark how the water was rising so we could tell if we were going to get inundated.
This time around, instead of having a trickle of water creep up into our parking lot, in our parking lot stood 11 feet of water.
being awakened at 2:45 in the morning with a call from emergency management that said, we're fully operational.
And the whole city was black. It was just a weird, really eerie feeling to see that much water just sitting there still on a summer night. One of the few nights it wasn't raining and lightning and thundering, you know. And here's the whole city of Cedar Rapids just inky black and silent. Was the goofiest thing, just the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Because of our unique location here at the confluence of the rivers, we're watching the weather forecast from here all the way to southern Minnesota. We were hearing very consistently from the Army Corps of Engineers that they were going to have to go through what they call an uncontrolled release of water at Saylorville. Put all that together in 2008 was very foreboding by the time we came anywhere near mid-June, when we actually had the peak of the problem here in Des Moines.
One advantage of having the Coralville Reservoir and Dam, and so we do have some notice of the water rising, and we were able to sandbag significantly, and having been through the floods in '93, we had some awareness of where we needed to be and what was most important to protect. I don't know that you realize while you're in it, and you are watching all of these other cities and what they're going through, and it's a lot to take in, and everyone is working together so well, and that's very heartening, and at the same time you realize that you're fighting a battle you might not win.
The Mississippi River is down from what it was then. The levees are dry, they're not saturated already. We probably can hold this.
My brother-in-law had gone out, and he called my husband and he said, I think we have a problem here.
And we knew that there was more of it. By the time Saturday got here, we knew we were really facing something that we had not faced before.
They were able to hold it back in '93. They could not do it in 2008.
The water was coming up way too fast. And I mean, there was a point that the water was higher than we were on the other side of the levee.
There was a lot to be done, and so a lot of it didn't get done.